Get going
Okay.
fast enough. Okay. It is my pleasure, and indeed it is a great pleasure, to introduce to you Mr. Stanley North. I'm going to read in just a moment what is up here. There is no way I can possibly remember it, so I have to, excuse me, Stan, I'm going to have to read it. Also here tonight is his wife, Rima, over at the table. And for those alumni of Syracuse University, where's Chris? Chris, Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
Syracuse alumnus?
Class of 73.
So there's more of us. Oops, I just lost. Okay. All right, Stan is a practicing international lawyer with an abiding interest in his family history and the special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom. This is how this fits into the 250th year, certainly the Revolutionary War and the relationship the United States and the United Kingdom, what indeed led to the revolution here, and you'll be amazed at the North connection from the United Kingdom with the United States here. He was instrumental in forming a consortium for 4 UK universities together with Rutgers, Princeton, NJIT, and UMDNJ in winning a $10 million healthcare grant from the United Kingdom, for which he was awarded a Thomas Edison Innovation Award. Stan grew up on the North Shore of Long Island in Lloyd Harbor, attended Cold Springs Harbor High School, obtained a BA from Syracuse University with a degree in urban studies from the Maxwell School, obtained a Juris Doctor degree from Brooklyn Law School, and a master's in corporate law from New York University. Stan met his wife, Rima, on the first day of their sophomore year at SU, and they have 2 children, Jeffrey North, a co-presenter, and who works in biopharma business development in New York. So once again, my pleasure, Stan.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Not a problem at all. So 168 years ago, more or less today, Joseph Henry North landed here in Hammonton. And 168 years later, here I am to talk about it. He's one of the earliest settlers of Hammonton. He's the first practicing physician of Hammonton. Kind of as extra bonus, he brought along his 5 sons, all of whom were doctors. And the next generation saw another 5 North doctors here in the area. And the last one, famous one, I guess, was the horse buggy doctor of southern New Jersey. He went on all of his calls in one horse buggy going forward. He arrived in Hammonton 1858 because it's too damn cold in Maine, and he had been reading the promotional literature of the Hammonton sponsors about the beneficial weather, the wonderful soil, the climate, and although he was a physician, his hobby, he wanted to plant fruit trees, and it was just impossible to do in Maine. He came actually in Atlantic City in October of '57, started buying up land with the view of starting fruit trees and starting to practice. And he sold everything in April and moved to Hammonton and started buying land and the possibility of planting fruit trees here. Why move in 24 miles from the coastline? And what changed between October and April of the next year? Mosquitoes is the answer. He had never seen anything like that, and I can't deal with this. And Hammonton was actually the center of where this community was going to be built going forward. So off he goes. He had a famous, his thesis was on pregnancy, which was viewed as being very advanced in 1835 when he had acquired it. He built a home on Central Avenue here. I drove by. There's a house next to where it stood and a house after where it stood. The site itself, the home is no longer there. 20 years ago, I had come by, and I did see the house there. Didn't have the time. I'll knock on the door the next time I come. Here I am. There's no door to knock on, but who wonders what the attic might have looked like going forward. He's buried here in the cemetery with members of his family. He had Cranberry Meadows and Buena Vista, a half-dozen farms, houses, besides several hundred acres of mineral and timberlands in southwestern Virginia. Again, I said he's the first physician in Hammonton, and his treatments of fevers at the time of the Civil War was heralded. His other noted accomplishments include planting the first peach orchard in Hammonton, and bringing pears from France. He'd imported pear trees from France. At one point had 4,000 pear trees sitting here within the Hammonton district. He's responsible for the suggestion of refrigerated rail cars. Well, why do we need that? Well, the fruit is so much better in New York or in Philadelphia, if it's kept cold. And he had great satisfaction of seeing Hammonton grow from a hamlet to a thriving town, and then even greater satisfaction of seeing his 4 sons following in his footsteps into the medical profession. He married Ezra Hall Underwood. My name is Stanley Underwood North III, and so this marriage in 1834 is represented in part by me standing here in front of you now. He had 3 daughters, and the daughters all married into local businessmen here in Hammonton. And quite surprisingly, as I researched this and prepared my remarks, I was surprised to find, in addition to having being the first physicians here in Hammonton, my family also represents the first educators here in Hammonton. The principal of your first school was Cyrus Morse, and when I try in 1863, and when you try and imagine what a school looked like then, we have the idea of the high school here. Did it look something like that? No, it looked very much more like a single room, and the highest class of child being educated might have gone to 8th grade, might have gone to 6th grade, and it was one room you're having to teach to all different levels at once. One concept I'm going to try and work out with Hammonton High School is build on this concept. They had the textbooks in that era. They had a reader, they had a history book, they had a geography book. If we were to look at them now, they'd it's ancient times almost. It'd be interesting to put in the high school perhaps, or in the historical society. Here are the typical textbooks that these students would be educated to. And the reason one of the other men the North women married into was Cyrus Osgood, who is the head of the Board of Education for 26 years here in Hammonton. And the emphasis on education raises, I deal with universities, and the concept I have, which is well received overseas in England, at a college called Wroxton College. It's actually the ancestral birthplace and home of the Earl of Guildford's. This is the crest of the Earl of Guildford. We'll talk about how I end up coming about it shortly. But the idea is to raise a scholarship to potentially have students from Hammonton go to England for a week, a month, a semester, and they have very strong court. Wroxton is 70 miles out of west of England. It's very close to Oxford. It's connected, it's associated with Oxford, and it's very close to Stratton-on-Avon, where Shakespeare festivals are held. That's where Shakespeare was born. He had a son, Edward North, viewed even more impressively, educated at Jefferson Medical School in Philadelphia as a surgeon. He was extremely well respected in the area. He and his father were the first, among the first Masons here in Hammonton. And this in part is a story of second sons having to step up. The oldest son, Edward North, went to see a patient on a weekend, beginning of a weekend, little knowing that it was the beginning of the blizzard of 1899, I think. So the beginning day of that. And he goes off, saves a young farmer's daughter's life, and he went from his home, it's cold, and he's on a one-horse sleigh with his scarf wrapped around his neck. And at 3 o'clock in the morning or so, when he's done, the farmer's wife, thank you, and it's cold out there, and she wraps the scarf around his ears. And as he gets to Nissen's Crossing, he can't hear the train coming until at last moment as he tries to pull the horse out of the way, and his body is discovered 50 feet away, thrown from the blow, and brought by the train to the train station. And a day or so later, found that he had died because of the accident going forward. But that was where first son is lost to you. He was one of the founders of your bank, one of the 32-degree members of the Masons, and a loss like that reverberates through a family. One of the reverberations is that the second son had no intention to be a doctor. In the fervor of the Civil War, while his dad was out on a business trip, he enlisted in the Union Cavalry. He was one of the first members in the 1st New Jersey Cavalry, and stationed, we may forget that Sumter was fired upon in April of 1861. In September of 1861, the 1st New Jersey Cavalry was stationed in Washington and stayed throughout the entire war. They were also present at Lee's surrender at the end of the war in 1865. He wasn't a doctor then, his name was Joseph Henry North Jr., didn't make it successfully through the war. He was wounded, badly wounded, and word got back to the family that he was wounded and put in one of the hospitals. And his father and his brother, Edward, came to Washington, and there are 24 medical hospitals in Washington at the time. In the 22nd one, on the 3rd floor, they found him with his face turned to the wall. He was not strong enough to feed himself, and they didn't have the staff to be able to hand feed the patients. And so he was close to death. His father and brother brought him back to Hammonton, nursed him back to health, and he went on to Jefferson Medical School to become a doctor. And as I alluded to earlier, the famous horse buggy doctor of southern New Jersey. he would see his patients in a one-horse buggy, and he always expressed a view that he would die with his boots on. And came back from a morning of seeing patients, had lunch, had a nap in the parlor room with his boots on, and never woke up. So he achieved that goal. He's buried in Pleasantville. The family had moved closer to Pleasantville. One point I want to say, and I think I said it, was that in addition to Silas Morse as the first principal and later the superintendent of Atlantic County Education, Cyrus Osgood was the head of Board of Education here in Hammonton, and three daughters, Mary Jane North Moore, Hannah North Osgood, and Grace Underwood North, all taught at Hammonton schools. And so this scholarship is in the name of the five of them, prominent educators in the from 1863 through the turn of the century. Pardon me. On a personal note, how do you find what's this Wroxton connection? Where did that come from? How do you find these things? And as I urge my own family to be, try and be interested in family values and family history, it came about to me somewhat by good luck, circumstance. The last North Farm, the owner of it, Aunt May, had died. The farm had been sold. The possession was being given to the new owners on Monday. And I'm 9 years old up in Long Island, and my parents say, "Oh, we're going to go to Aunt May's farm to see what's there," and we hadn't known they were selling the farm so soon. There must, who knows what's there, and we'd like to see all the relatives and say goodbye. And we come down from church. I'm in my white shirt. And we're at the house, and it's the last of the farms. So there have been 10, 15 farms. And as people died or things got sold, the important artifacts would be passed on to the next generation or the next farm. Well, this was the end of the road. This was the last farm they had here. And I broke a glass in the farmhouse, and they suggested I go to the carriage house with my mother to see if we could find cigar box frames that Uncle Harry, Dr. Howard North, would carve as a hobby. And an actual carriage house, 3-horse stall sitting there. My mother goes to the right, and I go to the left. And buried under 20 frames without glass and all, is one at the very bottom that does have its glass in it. And I reach in through these 20 frames and pull out this frame, completely blackened. You can't read anything. I have my Sunday shirt on. I start rubbing along the top of it, reading out, I'm 9 years old. My mother, genealogical. Table of the family of North, Earl of Guilford. Who's the Earl of Guilford? Mother says, I don't know. And this is 498 years of North history going through from beginning at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415 and ending, the last entry is of Francis North, born 1732. His last child dies in 1824. Francis North in 1776, is the Prime Minister of England during the Revolutionary War. And this farm here near Burlington has this amazing heirloom sitting in the carriage house, lost in having come. The North family came to America in April 30th, 1730, in Pemaquid, Maine. And Father John North, his two sons, one of whom died in transit, 6 weeks to sail from Ireland, and 4 daughters. And a generation later, the son that survives in 1754 builds a fort, Fort Western, in what turns out to be Augusta, Maine, the capital of Maine, where the Kennebec River goes from being 24 feet deep to being 4 feet deep. There's a falls there. So you can sail a ship that could go to England up the river, and on the other side of the falls, you can take a canoe 500 miles up into Maine, beaver, pieces like that. So a perfect spot for a trading post. And it was called Fort Western, although it's in the very middle of the state, because it was the westernmost outpost of English influence. And it repelled an attack of 400 Indian and French and Indian soldiers in 1756, with John North in command of the fort. And we believe this hanging on the wall of the fort. It was taken, we believe, by Joseph Henry North in 1758 when he came down to New Jersey, which is why I have it here now. I'm loaning to the Historical Society a copy of it, going there. And one of the problems, one of the things you lose if you don't learn your family history. I'm a lawyer of 40 years, 50 years practice. And I met my wife at Syracuse, and in my first career working away, she said, you know, you really should be a lawyer. I think you'd make a good lawyer. So no one in my family is a lawyer. I don't know anything about it. I think it'd be very boring. I don't think so. Well, I think it'd be a good idea. Well, if she thought it was a good idea, I actually went ahead and did it. And had I known my family history, this crown represents the Attorney General for England. This one is the Chief Justice of England. And this one is the holder of the Great Seal of England, the Secretary of State. My family history is filled with lawyers, and I shouldn't have been afraid of taking on the task. This picture is the Earl of Guildford, second Earl of Guildford, the Prime Minister of England during the Revolutionary War. This is, he looks just like my father going forward. In addition to there's another doctor coming out of Hammonton or nearby. The seventh son of the second son who stepped up to become a doctor. He had 7 children. 2 of them died in childbirth in the late 1880s, early 1890s. My grandfather was born in 1892, Stanley Underwood North Sr. He lived in Pleasantville, nearby. He, as a teenager, dug canals to drain the swamps to minimize the mosquitoes so people could travel on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. He went to Rutgers University. He was a Scarlet Knight, class of 1916. He graduated with a degree in electrical engineering. He's a track man. At the Rutgers Fall Meet of 1914, he won the 120-yard hurdle. At the 1913 1 mile, he won the mile race at 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 10 seconds. In high school, I was a runner as well. I couldn't beat that score. And finally, he won in 1912 the 880 yard sprint going forward. He did not go into electrical engineering. He thought he had an affinity for being involved in church work. And he asked his Dr. North, his father, who do we know who might have a church that I could volunteer and do some work with? And one of the ministers in Baltimore had a church relationship in Omaha, Nebraska, and they brought on a damn Yankee, as far as they were concerned, to come out to Omaha, Nebraska in the after graduation, so it's about say 1916 or so, going forward. And he liked the work. He met a daughter of one of the prominent industrialists there, and changed his life around. Went to divinity school, became a doctor of divinity. I went to school in New York City in a 4th floor cold water flat. His wife, who spent 2 years being educated in Switzerland at a fancy boarding school, finds herself in New York City at a cold water flat, and is given a parish. He's a Congregationalist, given a parish in New Jersey. Ultimately, he goes to upstate New York, then to Briarcliff Manor down in suburban New York City area. But is an educator. He teaches. He's given a job of. He takes on the job. He creates the job of teaching ministers in a minister's school out in Colorado and a Bible school in northern New Jersey. And goes to work for the national organization and becomes the director of works, which means trying to found new churches. And from 1938 to 1968, he founded 55 churches throughout the United States and became the Secretary General of the Congregational Church. So that's another doctor who brings his roots out of Hammonton. Another North relationship in the field of English. Sitting on the table are the 2 books with the flags on top of them. It's called Plutarch's Lives of the Noble Greeks and Romans. It was written by Plutarch, a Greek, in 1720 AD, and he pairs a Greek with a Roman, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and he discusses their character, their virtues, and what's, which man, presents it better going forward. Is originally written in originally written in Latin, famous work that was discovered during the Renaissance, and in England was only widely read when Thomas North translated it into English, and he honored the work to Queen Elizabeth because she could read the original in Latin, but he knew she wanted her subjects to be able to read it directly into English itself. Why is that important? It turns out that Thomas North sat at we haven't put it up yet. Oh, and it won't. Hold on.
Just hit enter.
Hit enter.
I think
I have it on my screen. Hit enter now. Thank you. Oh, well. William Shakespeare sat in the library at this abbey, at this ancestral home that I'm trying to show you, and as he's writing his plays. And there's a big controversy about who wrote Shakespeare's plays. Was it Bacon? Was it the Earl of Oxford? Was it some guy named Shakespeare who wasn't Shakespeare? And recent Shakespearean scholarship is finally, this is Wroxton Abbey. This is the historical home of the Earls of Guilford. 97 rooms. They have 100-dog fox hunts historically. It was acquired by Fairleigh Dickinson University in 1965, turned into a college, and is now independent. It's been acquired by its alumni who went there, American students who went there, and they are opening the doors to American students. And they're more than happy to offer this scholarship to Hammonton University, Hammonton High School, sorry, and to Stockton and local southern New Jersey universities that express an interest. And one of the fields is this field of Shakespeare, who actually wrote Shakespeare. And there is, people have now pointed out that Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet has 25 pages, word for word, out of Plutarch's Lives, the English translation Thomas North made of Plutarch's Lives. Shakespeare never went to Italy. Thomas North went to Italy on a mission on behalf of the Queen, and stayed in Verona on the trip, and wrote a very detailed description of a certain balcony of the Count of Verona, and that's the balcony that Romeo and Juliet is written from. He has the theory is that Thomas North had written plays, and as William Shakespeare sat there, he plagiarized the plays, made them better, but that one of the unacknowledged sources of Shakespeare is Thomas North, and it's a front page in the New York Times as they discover this and write about it and do some research. And at Wroxton Abbey, which is 15 minutes from Stratton-on-Avon, there's a major English English literature program that they would love to share with American students going forward. They also, this is the home of the Prime Minister. They're also teaching and educating about the special relationship between England and the United States. In the center of Hammonton, I saw the Reagan Stone, one of the strong supporters of the special relationship between the UK and the US was Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. And that happened here in Hammonton as well. Pardon me? Yes, dear, thank you. I'm putting this on loan to the Historical Society. It's Joseph Henry North's surgeon's box, so he would carry this around going forward. And it's not his full accompaniment, but instant sterilized bandages of different sizes going forward, a eyeglass, medication instrument made in Taiwan.
There you go. There we go.
Now that's a country doctor. So those might be of some interest for folks going through. Again, as a quick aside, the Earl of Guilford was the Prime Minister of England. You have to be the head of Commons to do that. You can't be an aristocrat. You can't be a lord. He's called Lord North, though, because his father was the first Earl of Guilford, but he himself was a commoner at the time. And the king, for some of the purposes he served, enrolled him into the knighthood of the Garter. This is a Garter medal. He's only the second or third commoner to ever be given this honor going forward. Quite interesting how it goes. A few words. He's Lord North often presented as being blindfolded. Why is that? He was viewed as being the blind instrument of the king. He did whatever the king asked. And in the North family, we've had our thinking on that has evolved. In Agincourt, we have archers. The two archers, 139, his son of 11, are on the field as archers. The 11-year-old runs around picking up the spent arrows so his father can shoot him again. And again, they're supporting the king in his rightful rights as the King of France as well. And they're kind of the blind instrument of the king. But at the Band of Brothers speech, a famous soliloquy that Shakespeare wrote about Henry V 100 years later after the Battle of Agincourt, the king said, we're under enormous odds. It's 5-1 against us. But those of you who stand with me now and fight with me now, you'll be ennobled. We'll remember this day forevermore. And on October 25th of St. Crispin's, the feast of St. Crispin, the saint of shoemakers and soldiers, if we live this day, when you come back to England, you will be, I will consider you my brother. We Band of Brothers will take on this fight and win. And the yeoman farmer, Robert, who at 39 was a yeoman farmer. He was an archer. But the family tree, when he died, he was 97 years old when he died. He has Esq, E-S-Q, Esquire, after his name. He had fought with the king, and he was ennobled. My branch of the family came through Ireland with Cromwell to pacify the Irish. And there's a euphemism. And they were given lands. The Irish Catholics were disposed. The Anglo-Irish were kind of tolerated, but people like my family were given lands. And when the second son, John North, left for America, he'd had enough of that. And although he was English, he was there in America, he was not in support of the king. He did not think the king was doing the right thing. He thought supporting the American Revolution was doing the right thing. And in the coat of arms, it's built generation by generation. The original coat of arms is just a simple shield in blue with 3 French fleur-de-lis and an English golden lion that the soldiers at Agincourt carried. When they were made a baron, they got a black dragon on top of that shield. When they were made an earl, they got a gold chain around the black dragon. When they acquired Wroxton Abbey, they have 2 mighty oak trees that still stand there today. The oak trees were notable in the Doomsday Book of 1066. The mottos, family mottos they adopted, Animo in Fide, courage and faith, came from Agincourt. But the more recent one, that being noble is earned by doing, not by birth, but by virtuous deeds, is one that carries through us now. And this is one of my virtuous deeds, my evening with you today, that I hope to pass on and bring to the students of Hammonton a chance to visit their own family history, their own concepts that their family is built upon. Learn the special, perhaps get involved with the special relationship between the UK and the US, perhaps discover some unpublished plays of Thomas North or Shakespeare finally acknowledging where he got his works from. There are many other things to talk about. I don't want to overtune. I will tell you that another loan I'm giving to the Historical Society is a book called Ride to War. It's the book about the 1st New Jersey Cavalry. And in the apex of it, the index, appendix, is the names of the 2,500 people who had joined that regiment. My Joseph Henry North Private, Company M, is among them. But there are numerous families from Hammonton and southern New Jersey who were in that cavalry. They were the leading edge, tip of the spear for the for the Union armies in fighting the Civil War. And again, fought through the whole thing. They had more men at the end of the war than they had at the beginning. As they enrolled and strengthened themselves. But they lost 15 officers and 250 enlisted men during the Civil War. And they're represented here in Greenmont Cemetery and elsewhere, of course. That's something to learn about. I think, yes, dear, thank you. Questions? What would I do without her? It's true. So I have some of the books up there. In Augusta, Maine, the mayor of Augusta, Maine, James North, wrote a book about the history of Augusta that covers a lot of the history in Maine that I didn't know about. Pulling this out of the carriage house is what set me on this journey. And I haven't ended the journey yet. I'm still here, learning more things about it, taking notes. I'm admiring the map of Hammonton we have here, learning about Reagan Rock. I'm looking forward to speaking with members of the high school as to how to implement this scholarship program, see if people will be interested in doing it. But I will take questions, fears or doubts. Sir?
So you didn't mention North Street.
It is a conundrum, isn't it? There is a North Street. It could well represent the street to the north properties, or it could represent the street north of the center of town.
No, it's a family.
Pardon me?
It's a family. There's family members there on the old maps.
North family
The North family, yeah.
on North Street.
And I have some deeds, or I've seen some deeds from the North family from like 1900 era. On that.
I'm giving you my business card. We're going to talk.
And when we went up Fairview. and
Yep, I
met-
saw North Street. We
Right,
saw it.
So North Street was behind it. so-
Yes, I saw that.
so-
But I thought it could just as well mean.
Yeah, we don't know.
And
Yeah,
at,
I live on
Someone
North
else
Street,
does.
and I'm the history nerd, so yes.
Okay.
I can,
A lot of the.
Which-
99% sure it is.
On North Street. Which North lived there?
What's that?
Joseph Henry North lived on Central Avenue.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't-
The old maps do show North there.
Okay.
And I think the accident was about 2 blocks away too.
Ah,
it would be close.
yeah, that, boy, what
I think that's the street now.
I'd never been to Nissum's Crossing before. What a emotional roller coaster that was for me.
At the same time that we're talking about North Street, Second Street was Fay, because Fay was Fay Street.
Yeah.
And so they might have been naming after prominent families. Fay was a huge business person downtown early on, so it's very possible. We haven't seen it in writing, but it's very possible that it's named after his family, yeah.
So another book I'm donating to loaning to the Historical Society is Shakespeare by North. That's the book where they're putting together all this evidence that Thomas North probably had something to do with Shakespeare's plays going forward. The doctor's box, quite interesting. Really, it's gorgeous here. The original house was near the lake, and it's a working lake. You know, it's not for it's not natural. It's put together for a grist mill and all. You know, a real working lake. But look how beautiful it is. You're lucky to live here. I'm lucky to have ancestors who lived here. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said that house is on Central Avenue, but it isn't there anymore. Where exactly on Central Avenue, was it? Because there's
cross-
a house that I always thought was told was a north house, and it's still there.
I'm gonna get
And-
notes from you too.
just-
The cross street was,
Park,
Park-
Just
Park
beyond,
Avenue.
just beyond
That
Park
house is
Avenue.
still there.
it's 7.
Brian Howe lived in that house, who is a lawyer, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
whose son does Shakespeare.
Is it the gray house?
It's a bluish gray now.
Yeah.
It's 736.
There's a stone house on the
but the
corner
street,
of Park.
that house address is 736. I had thought the house address was
Maybe they
738.
changed it. Yeah, maybe they changed it.
Yeah, well, those houses haven't moved or been.
Stan, you
torn
can still
down.
knock on the door tonight, down there.
No, there's a bungalow next to it. I lived at 749,
Did you, on Central Avenue?
yeah. And I just was always told that was, that bluish gray house was Dr. North's house.
I'll go back.
It's a new
I'll
color
go
now.
back, glad to.
So
Pardon me?
Dark blue
Yeah,
color
it's
now.
dark. It's dark.
What?
It's dark blue now. so
Bluish gray,
that's what-
yeah.
I can't hear you.
Dark, she said it's dark blue now.
It's
Yeah,
dark blue now.
It's
yeah.
dark blue now,
Yeah.
right. The new owners, but
Mhm.
there was a lawyer that lived there for years.
I'm gonna ask if they have a carriage house, and maybe I
Maybe they
can,
got tired of.
maybe I can
the
go
mail.
and
I
pull
don't
something
think
out.
so. The
But-
lot goes pretty deep, but.
I'll ask if they have an attic that they haven't cleaned out in a while.
Well, they moved
Mhm.
there, and I knew the people that lived there before that when I was in high school.
Even new owners will, there's junk up there in the
Yeah, I
attic, but it's
know.
too hard to
You're
get out
right.
of,
That's
so
true.
we'll leave it there.
That's true,
How much fun that would be.
yeah,
Great if it was.
I don't know.
That was much more.
Thank you.
I thought he might be here tonight, to tell you the truth. I may have to call him.
So the idea about the scholarship is maybe a junior. The idea could be 2 juniors come. You write essays, and the best essays get selected, but they come, they'd have a faculty member to chaperone them from Hammonton High School. And speaking with your assemblyman earlier, we said, yeah, we have to make sure the students are safe, but maybe, how much fun that would be. He can submit an essay too. We'll take them, perhaps. All right. Well, thank you very much for letting me take an hour of your day. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm going to keep working with your historical society to beef up some of the artifacts, and would like to do so with the high school as well, if that works out. And thank you for inviting me to this lovely setting, the Canoe Club. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes.
Appreciate it.